When you run a business, you need great communication skills. And if you want to grow internationally, you need great communication skills in English for lots of business situations like negotiations, meetings, keeping your team motivated. And in this ultimate business English lesson, we're going to look at 4 essential situations that you need to master in English. Let's go. Hi, I'm your English coach, Christina, and welcome to Business English with Christina, where you become better at English and better at business. All right, here's lesson number 1. Are you ready to negotiate? This is a big one for a lot of my clients because if you're not good at negotiating, you're going to have a difficult time growing your business. And even if you don't like negotiating, sometimes there are times when you just have to do it. So let's look at how you can better negotiate in English. In this lesson, we'll learn 9 new phrases that you can start using in your negotiations so that you can feel more confident today. All right, so you're ready to learn. Now, as a neurolanguage coach, I know that you need to hear these expressions in context to make them meaningful for you. So your first job in this video, because you're going to do some work too, your first job, it's just to listen to this dialogue. It's a negotiation between 2 native speakers. And all you have to do right now is just listen and see if you can hear and notice some key phrases for negotiations. Hey, it's great to actually meet you in person so that we can talk about the new project. Can you tell me a little bit more? Like, what would you like to accomplish? Well, we'd like to offer training to all of our staff because we want them to become great negotiators. All right, great. That sounds like a wonderful goal. And how can we help you to reach your goals? What we're interested in is the full-time immersion for the entire team. And we'd like to focus on just this skill for maybe 1 week at least. Okay, so if I understand you correctly, you'd like your entire sales team to focus on this training during all of the normal working hours for a week or perhaps more. Is that right? Right, but we can only do that during one of the weeks when business is usually slow. But yeah, that's the idea. Okay, yeah, that's definitely something we can do. We can offer you a 1-week training session for your entire sales team during your slow season. And then we'll add a second trainer so that your team can work in small groups. How does that sound? Yeah, that sounds great. But since we're a large team and we are planning the training well in advance, could you also provide us with maybe an extra session on negotiations in English as part of the deal? Okay, yeah, that's a fair suggestion. We could offer you the English training during your week-long training free of charge. All right, perfect. I think that's everything. All right, I think we have a deal. I'm looking forward to working with you. All right, now that you've had a chance to listen to that short negotiation in English, let's talk about those expressions. That way, you'll be able to use them too. We're going to start with the expressions that will help you listen to your client and understand what they want. Of course, you'll know exactly what the client wants to gain from working with you. And here are a few expressions that you can use to start that discussion. What would you like to do? Pretty simple. What would you like to achieve or accomplish? Or what are your goals? And to know exactly what the client wants from you, you can also ask, what do you expect from our company? Or how can we help you reach your goals? Another expression for understanding your client in greater detail, it's what do you mean? And we can use that in different ways. Like, what do you mean by short term, for example, so that you're sure that you're on the same page? Or when you say short term, what do you mean exactly? And this way you're clear, you're absolutely sure that you're speaking the same language, and you're ready for the next step in the negotiation. Now, before we get into asking the client's opinion, go ahead and hit a thumbs up for this lesson and subscribe to my channel to let me know that you're enjoying this. All right, in your negotiation, you definitely want to ask the client for their opinion of the offer. So here are some professional ways that you can do that. What do you think? Or, so what do you think about our proposal? Another expression, how does that sound? Or how does that sound to you? And this is just another way of asking the client what they think. So now maybe your client is hesitating a little bit and you would like them to help you by suggesting something that would help them to say yes to your proposal. So here's an expression you can try. What would it take for this proposal to work? Or what would it take for us to be able to work for you? Asking these questions can help the negotiation move closer to an agreement. You're finding out exactly what is essential for them, and that way you can see if you're able to give that to them. And if you're starting to agree, maybe it's almost time to close that negotiation. So now you need to know how to close that negotiation. So here are some phrases to help you with that. First is make sure that both parties understand the offer. Maybe there's something that you want to point out as a very important point to you, or you want to make sure simply that both of you understand the details of the negotiation. So you can say something like, I'd like to clarify our position. And then just explain anything that you need to in more details. Or you can simply say, just to clarify. And if your client makes a point that you can accept or agree to, you can show that you understand what they're asking for and that you're open to that idea by saying, that's a fair suggestion. And then you can follow up by making some other suggestions of your own with expressions like, we could, we are prepared to, or what we could do is. And then, of course, you complete those expressions with your own terms for the negotiation. And if everything goes well, you're getting close to sealing the deal, as we say, you can use one of these expressions. It's a deal, we have a deal, or I think we have a deal. And if you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, there's a chance that, like me, sometimes you have to lead meetings in English. And in this next lesson, we're going to look at how to make your meetings more productive, more focused, and just better when they're in English. All right, so in any business situation, you'll need to know how to start or to open your meeting. And you could say something like this. Good morning, everyone. It looks like everyone's here, so let's get started. And of course, after that, you'll probably want to share the purpose of the meeting so everyone knows why you're taking their valuable time. And you can use a phrase like this. Our goal today is to discuss our new client and our next deadline. And of course, you can put your own specific goal in the place of discuss our new client and deadline. But the idea is to think ahead of what is the goal for this meeting, and can you summarize it in one sentence so that everyone feels ready. Then, once you've stated the goal, you want to tell your team what's going to happen first, next, after, so they know what to expect. For example, you might say, first, I have a presentation for you about our client's needs. Then, we'll discuss which tasks will be assigned to each of your departments, and you'll be able to let me know if you'll need help meeting the new deadlines. Afterwards, we'll have a question and answer session. All right, number 4. If you're leading a meeting, you want to keep the meeting going so that people, pay attention to you. Listen to these examples of transitions from a meeting and see if you can catch the 3 expressions that you can use to move from one topic to the next. Let's start with the presentation about our client. Now, let's move on to assigning the tasks that your departments will be responsible for. Okay, so if everyone understands your department's role in assisting the new client, we can move on to our Q&A session. And of course, fortunately, every meeting has an end. So if you want to know how to close your meeting naturally and confidently in English, you want to say what happened, to summarize or to recap what you decided or discussed. Here are some things that you can say. All right, just to recap, each department can find their assigned tasks and deadlines in the new document. To sum up what we discussed in the Q&A session, there were several questions about adding new team members to help with the increased demand. And as requested, we'll ask human resources to look into that and to get back to us. And now you can really close the meeting with confidence, thank everyone for coming, and let them know when the next meeting is, because there's always a next meeting. For that, you can simply say, I want to thank everyone for coming, and we'll meet again in 2 weeks so that we can discuss our progress. I know that leading a meeting can seem scary in English, but you would be amazed at how much better you can feel if you go into the situation prepared and you know what's coming. You'll save a lot of focus, a lot of energy, you'll have more confidence, and by doing that, you'll actually have an easier time improvising, responding to surprise questions, and thinking on your feet. Okay, now that's only 2 of the 4 lessons in this ultimate business English lesson. I know it's a lot to take in, but the best way that you can make sure that you're really learning everything in these lessons so that you can go and apply it in your real life and make a real change in your life, go over to the blog post and get the quiz that goes with all of these business English lessons. The link over to the blog post is down below the video. Now, here's the next lesson, the business English lunch with small talk and beyond. Business lunches are an important way to grow your business and to build connections with your clients, your partners, even your employees. But business English lunches, they can be sometimes a little difficult, a little confusing, because yes, you're going to talk about work, but you're not only going to talk about work. You're going to talk about lots of different topics. And for that, well, you need some ideas and you need some vocabulary. And that is what is in this next lesson. In today's lesson, we'll talk about a business English essential, the business lunch. These days, you might be meeting your business contacts for coffee, for lunch, for dinner, whatever. But in any meal, there are 3 important parts that you need to know how to manage to make sure that that meal goes well. So today, you'll learn expressions and a few soft skills so that you can easily build rapport with small talk and transition to business topics and close your business lunch on a positive note. But first, why are business lunches so important? I'm originally from the US, and for Americans at least, business lunches are pretty important. The way we see it, a business lunch is a chance to meet someone in a different setting from, not just the office, so that you have your business contacts' undivided attention. And you get to do them a favor too, buying them lunch. And a good business lunch can build a rapport, create a good business relationship, and move your work forward. Now, yes, a business lunch has a purpose, and you probably know why you are there and what you want to discuss with your business contact. But as you probably already know, small talk is very important in many English-speaking cultures, and it's expected at business lunches. First, what not to talk about during small talk. My clients often ask me, what are topics that should be avoided? And that's a good question, because there are definitely some topics that you don't want to discuss in a business lunch. The big topics not to discuss clearly are politics, religion, and romantic relationships, because those can be divisive topics of conversation. And the idea of small talk, it's to build a connection with the person, to find common ground, to show that you're interested in your business contact as a person, as a human being. And because of that, you want small talk to be comfortable for everyone. You want a lively conversation, but that's not too personal. So how do you do that? Now, here are some questions that you can ask to start up a small talk conversation at your business lunch. You can learn a few of these and you'll be ready for any situation. Of course, the weather is a popular topic, and we do talk about the weather all the time. It's not just a cliche. A good way to start a conversation like that is just, can you believe the weather we're having? Especially if the weather is exceptionally hot, cold, rainy, beautiful, sunny, whatever. So it's a pretty versatile conversation starter there. It's also common to ask if someone saw a recent sporting event, especially if it's a big event like in the US, the Super Bowl. And you can simply say, did you catch the game lately? And if it's a big event, they'll know which game you're talking about, usually. And if not, they'll ask. But there are other things you can ask about too. And having more ideas will help you make sure that you have more lively conversations. For example, you can show interest in your conversation partner by talking about, their career path. Try asking about maybe the companies that they've worked for in the past. For example, have you always worked at Supercore? Or you could ask if they've always been in the same field, like, have you always been in project management? You never know. You may discover you've got something in common in your professional backgrounds. But small talk can also be about cultural interests, especially, again, if there's something big going on. For example, you could ask, have you seen the new James Bond movie? I heard it's really good.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Or, I saw that there's this big exhibit at the Louvre. Have you seen it by any chance? And of course, hobbies can be a great personal topic as well. But you can avoid sounding too intrusive or personal by offering some information about yourself first. So instead of saying, what are your hobbies, or what do you like to do in your free time? You could say something like, last week the weather was so great, I just had to go out for a hike. What about you? Do you do any outdoor sports? And again, during those conversations, you may discover that you and your business contact share some kind of interest. And if that's the case, you can ask follow-up questions to show that you're interested in them and their life. For example, maybe in that past example, maybe your business contact doesn't go hiking, but they say, I don't do a lot of outdoor sports, but I do a lot of CrossFit. There you go. So you can ask them, questions like when they usually work out, where they work out, if it's really difficult, whatever. Small talk is just about asking questions and showing interest in the other person. As important as it is to make small talk, you also need to get down to business. Now, in a normal meeting, you might simply say, all right, shall we get down to business? But in a business lunch, that might feel a little direct. It depends on the situation. But you can use more business-related questions to move the conversation towards business. For example, you could ask how their business is going. For example, how have things been at Supercore for the last quarter? Or ask them what's new with their company. Like, so what's your team working on these days? Or if you know that their company is working on some new developments, you could ask about that. For example, how's your new project going? Or, so how have you enjoyed working with the new team since the merger? And if your business contact is starting to ask business-related questions to you, that can be the cue that it's time to move the conversation to business. Now, eventually, all good things come to an end. Your business lunch will come to an end as well. And this will usually happen when someone brings you the check or when you ask for it. Now, remember, when you invite someone out for a business lunch, it's polite to pay the bill yourself. And this is a great moment to thank your business contact. And you can say something like, thanks for meeting me for lunch today. It was a real pleasure. You could also suggest staying in contact. Depending on the situation, you can say something like, I'll be in touch by email with the details we discussed. Or, would you like to send me that proposal later on? Or, feel free to get in touch with me if you have any questions. As a business owner, having a motivated, engaged team can really make the difference between your business succeeding and your business failing. So, if you're working with an international team or you use English to communicate with your team, how do you keep them motivated? What should you say to them? What about intercultural issues? Well, that's what you'll learn in this next video. All right, first, let's start with a little practice to help you learn how to talk about praising your team. You're going to see some of the key expressions on the screen, and let's see if you can understand them. So, first of all, praise is really important for keeping your team motivated, but it's important to do it right. You may want to regularly point out what your team did well and to tell them exactly what they did right. So, what makes great praise? Well, first, it's important to be sincere, to mean what you say so that your team will trust you. And if you want to sound sincere, you probably need to be very specific. Don't just say, good job, great job, things like that. All right, so did you understand some of those key expressions? Let's recap those first. To praise someone is to tell someone what they did right. To keep someone motivated, that means to help them find the desire to continue working hard and doing a good job. And to point out means to show or to bring attention to. And I think you probably maybe already understand sincere and specific, but still, you'll need those to complete the worksheet later. And if you're not sure of them, of course, ask in the comments and we'll help you out. Now, why should you put so much effort into congratulating your team? Well, I'm originally from the US, and I know that there can sometimes be very big differences between the amount of praise that we would give back home in maybe an American company and in other cultures or other business settings. So knowing how to congratulate your team in an international setting, what is appropriate, what is expected, and what is seen as sincere is an important skill to have. So, like I said earlier, if you want to be sincere, you need to be specific, and it can be a little tricky without the right expressions. So, start learning by listening and understanding while I give you some examples in English. Try to listen and notice these expressions that native speakers and advanced non-native speakers would use to sound sincere and specific. Thanks for coming up with the idea in the meeting yesterday. I'm very impressed with the way that you handled the negotiations. You knew a lot about that client. And nice job on your presentation. Your analysis was right on. One way to make sure that your praise is really effective is to make sure that your team knows that you see the work and the effort they put in. You might say something like this, and notice the expressions that you hear and see on the screen. Mike, I want you to know how much I appreciate this. Thanks for putting in the extra hours it took to get this done. This really went above and beyond all expectations. And something that can be really motivating for your team is seeing how their work plays a role in the big picture, in the entire business. See if you can understand some of these expressions in these examples. Karen, your efforts helped us to meet our deadline. We couldn't have done it without you. I love the way that you brought everyone together and got this done. You're a real asset to the team. And congratulations to you, because you've now taken that first step towards praising your team in English naturally, confidently, and sincerely by listening and understanding expressions that native speakers or advanced learners would use. And if you don't use it, you lose it. So here's a quick and easy way that you can use what you learned in today's video. What is one expression that you learned in all of these lessons today that you know that you can use in your business? Take a minute and put it in the comments and put it into your brain. And if this lesson was helpful for you, I would love to know. And there are 3 ways that you can tell me. The first one is to give this lesson a thumbs up and, of course, subscribe to my channel. And you can also go over to the blog, get the quiz that goes with this lesson, but also get my English Habits Starter Kit so that you can really build some solid English habits to make big changes in the long term, but starting very small. The link to that is also below the video. I was going to say the lesson video. You know what? It's down there. And the third thing that you can do is watch this next lesson, which is how to welcome a visitor to your company. Might be useful for you maybe after the summer vacation when business is starting back up, people are traveling again. If that's useful for you, it's over there. And again, thank you as always for improving your English and yourself and your business with Business English with Christina. And I'll see you next time.